Good afternoon, Mark here in Glasgow from Excel with two Italian red wines to taste. Both come under taste this afternoon because they are in the November 2021 edition of Decanter. Both are rated outstanding. This one 95 points, this one 96 points. They come from two different articles or reviews, and I will try to explain. There are similarities between them in a way, even though they are quite different in others, and that's kind of why I'm bringing them together in the same review or the same tasting. If you were only looking for one or the other, well, you may need to scroll forward 3 or 4 minutes to get to this one, the Burchino. Anyway, this one is the Nipozzano Chianti Rufina Riserva from 2018, and it features in Decanter's article on Chianti Rufina. Now, I'm not going to go into Chianti Rufina in great detail here. There's plenty in the blog article I've written and is on the website. Suffice it to say that it is not Chianti Classico, it's the other side of Florence, the other side of the river, which I think is the Arno, and it is regarded as the finest of the Chianti dominant denominations in the broader Chianti area, which is not Classico, and generally Chianti Rufina is revered for being a little bit lighter, a little more crackly, a little more classically, if you like, Chianti than perhaps the Chianti Classico region. We're going to give this a go and find out what it's a little bit about, but on the nose, it's very Chianti. It's very Chianti. It's very red fruits. There's a definite aroma to that. It is, of course, because it's Italian and because particularly it's Chianti. That's very red cherries, a little bit of sour cherry to it. On the palate, very crackling acidity. I would say almost searing acidity. It's got a real bite to it. Creates really quite a savoury feel to that wine immediately. Red fruit flavours. Definitely red cherries, sour cherries, bit of red currant. I'm not sure I'd go as far as raspberry. No real noticeable oak. There's no real vanilla there. There's no sort of toast from the barrel, any of that, because I think this is in much larger barrels that this is raised, aged, and it's. I think you'd have to say within the Chianti spectrum, it is a lighter style of wine. It's definitely a very well made wine. I think it probably warrants its 95, 96 points. But I think you will need to like the lighter styles of Chianti to like it. I think the other part about this is it is young. This is a wine that you could drink now with food, but I would say it is going to be better for aging. That acidity, the somewhat overt tannins, they're not particularly grippy, but they're definitely there. They let you know they're there. All of that has yet to meld a little bit more in the bottle. I think another couple of years, this is going to be into great shape. Really interesting. It's interesting now, but I think this is a wine that is definitely cellarable. It's only $19.95. In terms of red wines from Italy to cellar, to really lay down and make something of. I mean, this has got a time horizon 20, 25 years from now, I would say. It's a great wine for that. Really interesting, but don't go confusing it with some of the Chiantis we've sold recently, which have been sort of from really quite warm vintages, from Classico, from quite low altitudes in some cases, and certainly from quite sunny slopes. So they've been definitely riper and richer. This is more savoury. I wouldn't say it's austere, but it's definitely lighter, and the acidity of the tannins really show. So be a little careful what you expect. Glorious Chianti, classic Chianti, really good. Now, over here, 95 points in a review of IGT Rosso wines is the Il Burchino from Tenuta di Burchino, which is part of the Castellani Empire. It is also a 2014. Now, that sort of puts it in the category of super Tuscans, but I think a lot of people think of the term super Tuscans as being the really expensive Tuscan wines that don't fit into the Chianti category. So we're talking wines like Tignanello, Sassicaia, Ornellaia. And I think that's what a lot of people think of the term super Tuscan. Technically speaking, a super Tuscan is pretty much anything that's red that comes out of Tuscany that is not made with the classical grapes, and that really means more than anything else Sangiovese. So I use the term super Tuscan in its more technical sense rather than the one that is sometimes more associated with it. This one is 50% Sangiovese, 30% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 20% Merlot. So it's sort of half Bordeaux blend and half Chianti, if you like. It's a somewhat vernacular way of putting it. And I think that really shows when you get into the wine. Takes 95 points. It's one of the 6 outstanding wines in that review, but it's the only one that's less than £40. And actually, at £17.25, I think this is an absolute star buy, not least because you're buying it with age on it. A lot of the mellowing that certainly 2 of those 3 grapes need, the Cab Sauv and the Sangiovese, you're actually buying into this. It's a pretty crazy price for this wine. But on the nose, it's more muted than this one. It's a darker, blacker wine. You know, the nose from that, you're definitely picking up all 3 grapes, but there is a sort of plumminess, a damsonness, a sort of, well, you don't call it, it's not really black fruits, but somewhere between red and black fruits, that plum, damson sort of flavour is what comes to me, first of all. And then there's a bit of blackness, a little bit of blackberry, a little bit of red fruits as well. There's a little bit of oak on it, but if you like, it's old oak. It's not new vanilla-y oak. And it promises some depth. It promises a bit more warmth than this one. This doesn't strike you as being, right, it's all about tension. On the palate, it is definitely a blend. No one grape will do all of those things. You've got there the classic Italian cherries of Sangiovese. It's absolutely definitely an Italian wine, and the Sangiovese pretty much tells you that. But there is a structure and a little bit more depth to it, a little bit of blackness to it, and a bit more acidity again, which I think is coming in from the Cab Sauv. And then it has this warmth, this richness, and this is the bit which actually is really quite likeable about it. It's just a bit softer and smoother. It sounds a slightly odd thing to say, but there is almost that sort of Rioja-ish warmth about it. I know Rioja is not made of Merlot, but somehow there is a smoothness, a suppleness about this, which I think the Merlot is absolutely giving to that. The age on it, I think, has been crucial. I think if you'd drunk this 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been maybe just a bit too crackly, but now it's lovely, it's soft. It does have those Bordeaux blend grapes in it, but don't go expecting it to be as deep and as heavy and as broadly heavyweight as a Bordeaux blend. The Sangiovese is fundamentally quite a light grape, and that's keeping that tight, tense, keeps it crackling, and it keeps it definitely a red wine rather than a black wine, but there is a softness, sumptuous to it. I think that's really lovely, and I absolutely understand why that's made the top echelon of that Decanter review. I think at the price, absolutely great. Not sure how much longer it will keep. I think I would be tempted to drink that in the next 2 or 3 years rather than try to hang on to it. It's probably got the structure, with certainly the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Sangiovese, to go a bit further, but I'm not sure I see a point of hanging on to it. I'm not convinced it's going to get a whole lot better. Anyway, absolutely lovely. £17.25. Nipozzano, also lovely, but stick it away and enjoy it some other time. Great wines. Enjoy them.